Testing 1, 2. A very good morning to all of you. I apologize for my late response in this regard. I've been very, very busy with other stuff that has kept me occupied. And therefore my response has been a bit tardy. Jolene, a very good morning to you. It's been a bit tardy. I apologize for that. However, this is it. Ashraf, salam alaikum. Kaden, how are you this morning? Okay, just very quickly, Jerome, hi. It's given me also the time to have a broader outlook and study of what is happening in the Western Cape. And I must say that, George, hi, Hardy, how are you, my brother? That the outlook for the Western Cape is not a pretty one. It's not going to be nice, and those people that know me know that I do a lot of research first before I Shana, assalamu alaikum, good morning, Chase and George. Before I speak that, my research has been done thoroughly, and hence whatever I'll talk about makes a lot of sense and can be referred to, and there's references, etc., etc. Now I'm going to post a number of things as I talk, as I speak, so that it will assist you in referencing what I'm talking about. So I mean, the stuff it's not cool at all. What I've discovered is it's not cool. Anyway, so let's just look at begin at the beginning. I've 2 weeks ago gave Fadil, whatever his surname is, I gave him a week to apologize for the ridiculous and sometimes funny, but unfortunately it's serious. Owen, very good morning, Shanaz, and Abdullah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Marcel. What I did do was give them the opportunity to apologize for what they said, and of course they haven't. Apologize for, amongst other things, the instant vilification of me was as follows: 1, that I was a rapist; 2, that I was a wife beater; 3, that I was the person getting drugs into Mitchell's plane. It's just fucking ludicrous. And then also that I was a child molester. Morning, Charmaine, how are you doing? Clayton, how's it? Okay, I mean, just the sheer ridiculousness of the claims is just horrible. So what my attorneys have been doing over the last week was to try and ascertain the addresses of not just Fadil and the other 2 clowns, but also there's no formal address, which apparently I just heard this morning that they got the address now of Gatvol Capetonian, which is now a non-profit organization. But at the same time, also the 52 people who have claimed, because you know the video that they showed was broadcast to 69,000 people. And the 52 people that, because we're joining the entire piece with these 52 people who all call me rapist, fucking idiots. Anyway, Basil, a very good morning to you, sir. So let me give you the big picture. When one looks at, one has to ask the fundamental question: why this response directed at me? Now, 3 weeks before this, the one character who is the guy working, operating in the shadows, I just want to get his name out here quickly, Warren Jones. And this was 3 weeks before this situation came up. I quote what he said, and I'll post all of these. Brian Ebden is posting propaganda on his Facebook group, Amalgamated Assembly. Mr. Ebden needs to be very careful how he labels people, as it will come back and bite him in the ass. It is people like him that will derail the process of independence. Now, and then they agree with him, blah, blah, blah. So the minute I mention anything to this Gatvol Capetonian, the response was frenetic. And there's reasons for this response. Number one, let's look at the big picture. I'm going to try and tie all of these things together because I mean, I find what these people are planning is fucking ridiculous. I want to work backwards from it. I think people can recall that last week, Mr. Ernst Roots of AfriForum, who, believe it or not, is the official backer of Capetonian. These are the guys, AfriForum and a group of far-right people. Many of them are extremely wealthy and are backed by a lot of money, including the Anton Ruperts, etc., etc. So this whole Afrikaner group, and it's a national thing. This guy Ernst Roots, Basil, I'm sure you were aware. Basil Kusia, I'm sure you were aware. Sebastian, you were aware as well. Good morning to all of you. Neba, Kurt, and Claudio, and Kamani. Good morning. That you were aware that Ernst Roots of AfriForum actually went to this laughable public hearings on land appropriation. Public hearings. Was there a public hearing when these fuckers took our land in the first place? But anyway, it's a farce. That Ernst Roots actually had the cheek to say that he was there acting on behalf of so-called colored people and Khoisan people. Number one, you can't separate the two. You can't separate the two because scientifically, so-called colored people are indeed the progeny. All so-called colored people are indeed the progeny of Khoisan people, and hence, therefore, if I'm my father's child, I'm a descendant of my father. Am I not my father genetically? So I mean, the argument is stupid. But just the sheer gumption for those people to go into public and claim that indeed they represented the collective of so-called colored people and Khoisan people. Where did they get that from? Of course, there's a motivation. One has to ask the question, where are they getting this from? But anyway, so I just want to give you the big background. The big picture is this. AfriForum and all of these far-right groups have already, there's a deal in place. And I'm telling you now, you will see this. There's a deal in place between them and the ANC. And what is the deal? The deal is that Afrikaners can have their own homeland. And their homeland is going to be in the Western Cape. They just need to work out the detail between the Zionist bloc, who controls the economy of the country. And the Zionist bloc is led by, of course, by the DA. That is why you notice the DA is focused now heavily on expanding outside of the Western Cape. So their plan is, and that is why there's been no opposition. Don't you think it's strange? There's been zero opposition from the ANC. The ANC has not opposed, and Gatvol Capetonian has not come out at all to disparage them, to make any remarks in their regard. And these people openly have committed treason, have committed sedition, openly. You can look at any law book, and they've done this openly. So this is the deal. This is what, good morning, Archie, how are you doing? Earl, Frederick, a very good morning to you all. So the deal on the table is this, that the Western Cape is going to be seceded to the Afrikaner group. Because look, if you think what I'm saying is crazy, what the fuck is Orania? Orania has been there for a very long time and has been the incubator test case of how a completely independent and separate Boerenstaat could operate within the context of a quote-unquote new South Africa. And this is what's happening, is that they have agreed. There's a deal on the table already, I'm telling you now. And this is why Zuma was moved to put Cyril, Cyril, that funny guy, in so that he could seal this deal. Afrikaners have been, over a period of time, ensuring that they can retreat to their own boerewors, behind the boerewors curtain, which is the Western Cape. They're just going to work out how they're going to deal with the Joera. And that's the reality. That's the bottom line. Now, how do they go about it? Number one, they need to move Xhosa speaking people out of the Western Cape. How do they do that? So here are the challenges facing them. Number two, the so-called colored community. How do they convince the so-called colored community that they should support them, in this quest? Because, of course, so-called colored people, or the overwhelming majority as a single group of the overwhelming majority, as a single group of the overwhelming majority in the Western Cape. So there's two challenges. One, how to get rid of all black people in the Western Cape. And number two, how do you convince so-called colored people that they should be behind? Because look, the legitimate group of people in the Western Cape that who the land genuinely belongs to is so-called colored people. There is no question about this. Good morning, Mac. There is no question about that. Okay, so this is what they have done, is how they're convincing so-called colored people to be part of this, convincing so-called colored people consciously and unconsciously and subconsciously. So I'm going to go about how they're trying to achieve this. Number one, let's look at black people. Now if you go on my notes and my Facebook lives that I've done, and I've done tons of this stuff, it's there. I have posed this question, and I've stated that there's a low impact, highly focused war on two fronts happening in the Western Cape as we speak, now as we speak. Number one, that they are making life in the Western Cape untenable, unlivable, and an unhappy place for black people to operate. Let me give you an example. Right now, the Nyanga axis experiences the highest crime rate on planet Earth. Highest assaults, highest rapes, highest break-ins, highest homicides. That more people die on an hourly basis in Nyanga axis than anywhere else in the world. In fact, it beats Yemen. Just please, I'm busy. Can you see I'm busy? Thanks. Just okay, thanks. So it beats out Yemen, who's at war. It beats out Syria, who's at war. Sorry, apologies for that. It beats out Yemen and Syria, who are at war in terms of the homicide rate. Now here you got Xhosa-speaking people who that's a good idea, Rahim, who come from the Eastern Cape and who live in the Eastern Cape. And I don't know if anybody is aware that Tanzania is the second biggest township after Soweto. Tanzania is far bigger than Mitchell's Plain, in fact, and Kailicha. But here you have people, I'm using this example, come from Tanzania with a massively low murder rate, and all of a sudden come to Nyanga, and all of a sudden they become murderers. Who come from the Eastern Cape, who's got a relatively low murder rate, homicide rate, rape rate, etc., etc. Of course, South Africa's a high crime rate in the main, however, but looking at it from a comparative point of view, come from that place, and then all of a sudden become these homicidal maniacs. So clearly there is something happening in the black community whereby this massive attrition rate, this massive murder rate is occurring. Now we know who's been giving guns to gangsters in the so-called colored community. It's been white guys. We know that the crime rate in the Western Cape is the highest in the world. The homicide rate generally in the Western Cape is the highest in the world. We know that so-called colored people have got the highest homicide rates in two ways. One, in terms as a singular group, the highest homicide rate in the world, far higher than anywhere else. That's number one. Number two, have got the highest homicide rate in terms of knife stabbings, death by being stabbed by a knife, highest in the world by far. But I mean, not just by far, but like Rwanda kind of far. Okay, so here you've got these two groups who have been have been engaged in killing themselves. At one point in 2013, 5% of all so-called colored people were incarcerated. But we know we've got the highest drug rate on the world, on planet Earth. We know that our farmers at Gatvol, Capetonian talks about Gatvol, Capetonian, that's South African basic commodity, basic foodstuffs like pap, etc., maize, and so on. Shadow, a very good morning to you. How are you doing? Long time. That has got the highest GMO usage rate in the world. South Africa, listen to this. South Africa, our GMOs in terms of bread, millie meal, where papa's made from, corn, etc., has got the highest GMO rate in the world. all over the world, people are kicking out. I mean, countries like fucking Hungary, man. Come on, Hungary. People can't rub two brain cells together, but they have banned GMOs. These GMOs of Monsanto is being virulently used in South Africa by our farmers that Gatvol Capetonian referred to them as. Okay, so here you've got a situation where the black community are being murdered by violent and other means. That is a well-documented fact going back to the 70s. The so-called colored community are being, the same thing is being done to them. However, we're not killing each other fast enough, because we need, what they need is a smaller black population in the Western Cape, a far smaller so-called colored population, because our only role as so-called colored people in the Western Cape, if you notice, how many so-called colored businessmen are there? Not very many. Not very many. And those of us who have big chains, anything has been bought over by white business, and we're very happy to sell. Look at Buka. I mean, I laugh when I hear the complaints about people complaining about land in Buka. Why are you complaining about land in Buka? The white people are buying up the land and starting imposing their will on there. I'm from Buka. I can remember in the 90s how happy people, how proud people were. Ooh, 'n wit man het my huis gekoop. You understand? And now, look what's happening now. In any event. So, just to come back to it. But the problem between so-called colored people and African and black people is not moving along fast enough for them. But the other issue they've got is the United Nations. I know it seems that I'm all over the show, but I'm not. The United Nations Declaration, the 89th plenary, it was in 16 December 1992. I'm going to just read it to you. The universal realization of the right of peoples to self-determination. Now, in South Africa's constitution, if a group, let's say in the Free State, if 51% of the people, Svay, how are you doing, my brother? If 51% of the people in the Free State decide, hold a referendum and decide that they want to be an independent country from South Africa, there's nothing South Africa can do about it if they vote for a referendum. So there's a referendum that's being planned to play itself out in the Western Cape, where 51% of the people, quote unquote, 51% of the people are going to vote and say we want an independent country. Now, let's go back to the Buddha story. You got all of these Buddha groups. None of these political parties that represent those Buddha, like FF plus, FF minus, FF subtract, FF divide, NP, none of them are attractive to so-called colored people. None of them. So what they had to do was to find a political party, a political face that is relatively suited, that could be remodeled, that could be panel beaten into what they're looking for. And so who would that be? You understand? They had to find a party. And now here was a party called Cape Party, run by a ex-model, a model, dirty looking guy. He was a fucking model. Okay, that's South Africa is a crazy place. So ex-model who ran the Cape Party got 0.014% of the vote, and the fucker's been around for 9 years. With some slumser guy, I don't mean this in a disparaging way. Another Tatio who runs a flea market. Okay, so the two of them decided, look, they're going to start a party. Only their children, the dogs, the fleas have been voting for them. I mean, they don't even have 1%. They got 0.014% of the vote, which is a joke. But they suit the profile. They suit the profile. So that is why all of these paramilitary groups, these Afrikaner paramilitary groups like the Western Cape Veterans, blah, 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 AfriForum, all of these guys are putting their weight behind the Cape Party. And if I'll post it later on, the Cape Party was one of the first parties that actually went to the human rights, this constitutional court to talk about land compensation, land appropriation, officially laid a complaint about white people must die. You can go Google it, it's there. Because the head guy of of Cape Port, you don't hear of him anymore. It's more this Muslim guy, Ibrahim Davids. That's the guy who's behind all of these things, who's the face. Who, if you go to the Cape Party's website right now, you will still see he's there as one of the head guards, one of the Lanis. His picture's still there, even though Gatvol Capetonian says, look, those of us who involved the Cape Party, we resigned from there. We are here, but they haven't resigned. Gatvol Capetonian say they're not political. They are political because why all of a sudden are they talking about the independent state? Now look, if you're talking about the independent state, there has to be a reason for that independence. Independence from who? The ANC. Has the ANC been that bad to so-called colored people by comparison to what white people have done for 350 years? Give me a fucking break. Listen, that Gatvol Capetonian can be the defenders of white privilege, claiming there's no such thing as white privilege. Are you fucking kidding me? Go to Camps Bay, go to Clifton, go to Bishop's Court, go to Llandudno, go to Camps Bay, go to Sea Point, go to the Hout Bay and see Tokai and tell me what is white privilege? Are you fucking kidding me? These guys are laughable. They are fucking idiots. But what's happening is, because of that United Nations General Assembly meeting of '92, where they say there's a universal realization of the right to people of self-determination, which implies, okay, what people are you? Colored people are not a people. You're a fuck all. There's no such thing on planet Earth as colored people. Colored people don't belong jack. What is colored people? So therefore, you're going to understand why there's this radical, frantic movement, who I call the Achas, of these so-called colored people dressing like Achas, with these funny hats on their heads, bows and arrows, smoking buhu, cleansing, all this stupid shit has been motivated by these people to now create the people. Are you with me already? That is why these guys are running like Achas with khututjis on their heads, and spikes all over the fucking show, and buhu. Oh, fucking idiots. But there's a reason, always a method to the madness. Randall, I hope you're listening to me. Here you finding out the truth of why these Achas are doing what they're doing. Okay? So they have to create a people now. They have to create a consciousness of Khoisan. They have to create Khoisan consciousness. Now let's look at Fadil, what David's added, whatever the fuck his name is. That bra is not Khoisan. He is in what we would refer to as a Daki. Okay? His genetics is not African, is not so-called colored Khoi genetics. But he's saying, I'm Khoi. Islam, so what is he talking about? He's Khoi? Give me a fucking break. So they're creating Khoi consciousness, Khoi and San consciousness. This has been fomented by white people. This has been fomented by the AfriForums and all of those Afrikaner groups. That is why these people are running around helter-skelter. We will name this airport Kratoa. It's supposed to be Krotoa. But anyway, Kratoa, or there will be war. So you're understanding where this comes from, because already they've got their own system, their own financial monetary system worked out. It's called Cape Coin. Go and check it out. Cape Coin is owned by Cape Party. These guys are jacked up. They are ready to move. They are ready to be organized right now. They've got their own fucking army in place. They've got their own standing army. They're going to have their own police. And once again, so-called colored people are going to be their fucking slaves. And these people are using this self-proclaimed drug addict, self-proclaimed thief, self-proclaimed gangster. Now, he claims that this guy, who's part and parcel, if you go, look, I'm going to get his name now. Where's his fucking name? Vasena. Man. This guy, Adrian, what's his face? Adrian, yeah, that guy. You know what I'm talking about. Is his friend. Now, okay. This Adrian guy, who's with the Cape Veterans, he's a gun guy, blah, 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 owns 5 or 6 companies. What would, just come on, just give me a fucking break now, really? What would a whitey who's got 5 or 6 bona fide, legitimate companies do with a druggie and a gangster. Can't be friends. Your acquaintances. But you see, yeah, I want you to, sorry about that. I want you to have a look at this. The Cape Party started a Facebook group, a bona fide group called Cape Exit. And I'd like you to, I'm going to try and type it in here, to go and have a look at this guy. There's a guy that you need to go and look at Cape Party. I'm just going to find it here for you quickly. He's the official spokesman of Cape Party. Okay? He is the official spokesman of Cape Party. I'm going to give it to you now. His name is, and I'll type it in here. His name is Zakadoom. You can go to Twitter and see this. He is the official spokesman of Cape Exit, who is the arm of Cape Party, Cape Exit, of course. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to go. There we go. I'll get his handle for you now quickly. I've just posted it for you. Go and check. You can go and have a look. I want you to go have a look. Please, while we're chatting, go have a look at this. When you go there, the first thing that comes up is a big, on top of his stupid-looking ugly face, is a big white, W-H-I-T. This guy, you can see it there. This guy is racist to the core. He's as racist, but he believes, he's conservative, destroy communism. Jesus is God, rapture ready. King James Version 1611 Bible, stop abortion, jail Soros, capeexit.org, InfoWars, Allah not my God. Now, think about this. The guy, if you go on his page, he's racist, nakedly racist. He is a massive Islamophobe. And then you look at the Cape Party, who's one of the head guys, one of the lions is this Slamsa Boichi, Ismail, what the fuck his name is, the guy with the gray hair, he's part of Gatvol Cape Town. Yet listen to this, he is associating with these people who are the official mouthpiece of his organization that is one of the bosses of, supposedly, who's a massive Islamophobe, who's a massive racist. Go have a look at his page, you can just go click on it. So this is what is going to happen. This is what we in store for so-called colored people in the Western Cape. Are you ready? Yellow Vatsuri Whitey's likes. You must like what? With your fucking stupid accent that you never had before. What? You got a lot of what friends. They are fucking planning. They are planning colonialism 3.0. Not 2.0, 3.0. And we once again are going to be their fucking slaves. They're going to use us as so-called in terms of Khoisan consciousness to be able to force a completely fictitious, completely surreptitious referendum, which they will win. Apparently, there will be 51% so-called people who says we want an independent state. And in this independent state, black people, Xhosa-speaking people predominantly, will be booted the fuck out of South Africa. Because you know what? It's their right. Because they've proven that the collective of colored people, so-called colored people, don't like black people at all, even though we are black. But we don't like black people. We don't like other black people. We don't like black people who speak Xhosa. Because we are not black. We're brown. We are not only brown, we are Khoisan. Even though we look like a fucking Xhosa motherfucker. This is the big picture, and this is what they got planning, and the planning is at a very, very advanced stage, down to what their currency would be, their army, their police force. The deal is done between themselves and the ANC already. The next phase is to convince stupid colored people that, hey, you got Khoisan consciousness. And that's what's being sold right now, that you have Khoisan consciousness, number one. Number two, that you don't like black people to the point that you want independence as a sovereign group, which so-called colored people are. Once again, so-called colored people are going to be used to aid, further, and abet what white people are doing in the Western Cape. We are going to aid, we're going to aid in our own self-destruction. Let me ask you a question. That the Fadil, Adams, and all of these guys went to the length of berating me, openly opening themselves up for a massive, I'm going to sue the living shit out of their mother. And then this idiot has the cheek to say, right, I'll take you to a dark road, I'll give you the beating of your life. My friend, I will kick the living shit out of you. Literally. You will see the cock coming out of your fucking ass, you dumb fuck. You think I may be fucking 17 years older than you, but in my age, over 60, I'll kick the shit out of you. Fucking druggie. Anyway, enough of that idiot. You will see, in the next 3 to 6 months, they will kick Fadil Adams out because he's a loose cannon. It's not good for business. It's not good for business. It's not good for the image of them. Because, you know, if they had for Capetonian, the 3 guys who are not happy with the state of how they in, how come he's a national spokesman? He's a national spokesman. So you can see the whole scam is being played out. All I'm saying is, look, I've been telling you people for time and time again, but you know, our people, we harakat. We harakat. As julle nie wil fucking hoor nie, moet julle fucking voel. And that's what's going to happen here. That once again, because we lock watch people. You just lock watch people. You got funny fucking accent. The minute you run watch people, and then you know you watch. You want darkies around to remind you that your harakat is do and all of this nonsense. So of course, exactly. Sebastian, you'll see, he'll be out of his ass once again, Draghi. That's what I'm bothered. I'm not bothered about the idiot. Okay, he's not good for business, and that's why he's gone. He will go. So we, as ordinary people, must know that, number one, the ANC is not our friend. The ANC, I'm talking about the national ANC, is not our friend, has not got the best interest of blacks and so-called colored people at heart. They don't give a damn. They're not interested in the material conditions of our people at all. They failed dismally, and right now they are handing the Western Cape on a platter to these people, irrespective of what the majority of so-called colored people and majority of black people in the Western Cape feel about the situation. They are creating, not the ANC, but I'm talking about white people now, especially the Afrikaners, are creating a state of anarchy, a state of low impact war, highly focused within the townships, of where our people are killing each other, where our people are all over the show without leadership. We don't have leadership in the so-called country. Who's our leaders? The mere fact that we can have a self-professed drug dealer, druggie, gangster, and thief being seen to be the leader of people, then we have a problem. We definitely, of course, he's necessary for now. He's a fire starter, so that's why he's there. He's just there to start the fire. You know, the match starts the fire. Once a fire is burning, the match burns out. Of course, it's logic. So, and I'm sorry to say this. I'm really sorry to say this. And I know this is not the best thing for anybody to hear, with any semblance of self-respect on a Monday morning. But there's fuck all we can do. We are fucked. There's nothing we can do. And you know why there's nothing we can do? Because you don't want to stand together. You don't want unity. You don't know what it is to be united. 20 of you can't organize shit together. 20 of you. You fuckers can't even play football. You can't even put one team together and fucking play football. Where we were, and I'm talking in the 70s and the 80s, where on a phone call we could, within the space of an hour, rally 30,000 people to come to a funeral, come to a demonstration, 30,000 people who said the same thing in the same language, in the same direction. That unity is dead. The unity is dead. So before we even think about dealing with this issue, we need to think about the issue of unity. There is no unity. Look, I'll give you an example. When I was under attack, under complete bullshit, how many people came to my defense? In real terms now, come on. I don't want to be disrespectful here, but how many people really came out to defend me? Come on. You know what I'm saying? Black man, you're on your own. We know that. So until such time we learn to have unity, we are fucked. This is their plan. This is what they're planning to do. They're in an advanced stage of this plan already. This is way down the line, and it's gonna happen, whether we like it or not. I hope and wish that all of you have a fantastic day. Don't forget, in 5 days' time, it's Friday again. We can get gesape, we can get gedrak, we can dance funny and do all that stupid shit. Monday, we're back to the grind again. We don't want to listen. And that's our own fault. We only have ourselves to blame. Peace. Have an illuminated day.